Vintage fashion isn't just about wearing old clothes, it's about telling a story with your style. In a world of fast fashion and look-alike trends, vintage offers something precious: true uniqueness. The stitching, the fabric's weight, even the shape of a button whispers of another era and gives your outfit soul. Pair a vintage piece with something modern and you instantly add contrast, texture, and depth. Suddenly, your look has layers, not just in fabric, but in meaning. Vintage lets you build a wardrobe no one else has, filled with pieces that speak to you. Worn right, it's timeless. Imagine a perfectly broken-in leather bag with a crisp blazer or a 70s silk blouse tucked into tailored trousers. It's the collision of past and present that makes vintage so special. It's not just nostalgia, it's elevation. Done well, vintage makes your style feel richer, smarter, and truly your own. One common fear with vintage is ending up looking like you're in costume. The secret to avoiding that is balance. Vintage should add character, not overwhelm your outfit. Anchor standout vintage pieces with modern basics like pairing a 1950s circle skirt with a sleek black turtleneck and clean boots. The contrast keeps the look fresh. Stick to 1 or 2 vintage touches per outfit. A beaded 60s clutch looks chic, with jeans and a crisp white shirt, but adding a beehive and cat-eye sunglasses can push it into themed party territory. It's not just what you wear, it's how you wear it. Confident posture, fresh makeup, and easy, modern hair keep vintage silhouettes grounded in today. You want to look like someone who collects beautiful, unique pieces, not someone stuck in the past. Done right, vintage is just a hint of history, layered onto a modern, expressive woman. The vintage blazer, a structured statement. Few things hold the power of a good vintage blazer. Think wide shoulders, sharp lapels, wool textures, and unexpected buttons. These aren't your average off pieces, they were built to last, to command respect. A well-chosen vintage blazer can instantly elevate even the simplest outfit. Take a boyfriend-style tweed blazer from the 80s, throw it over a white tee and modern high-rise jeans, and suddenly you've created something effortlessly editorial. The key is proportion. Vintage blazers often come with a stronger shoulder, or a boxier cut, so keep the rest of your outfit streamlined. Pair one with a silk slip dress or cigarette pants for a high-low mix that feels intentional and chic. Don't be afraid to belt it. Vintage belts over oversized blazers create an hourglass effect that feels runway ready. Choose blazers in classic prints like houndstooth or plaid, or stick to neutral tones for versatility. With tailoring, even an oversized find can become your secret style weapon. It adds structure, weight, and polish in a way no fast fashion blazer ever could. And when someone asks where it's from, you'll smile, knowing it's one of a kind, just like your style. Silk scarves that elevate everything. A vintage silk scarf might be the most versatile accessory you'll ever own. These square little masterpieces are wearable art, bursting with color, detail, and texture. They bring instant elegance to any outfit without feeling tired. Tie one around your neck with a white shirt and jeans, and suddenly you've gone from casual to Parisian chic. Wrap one around your ponytail, braid it into your hair, or even use it as a belt or bag handle wrap. The possibilities are endless. The beauty of vintage scarves is in their quality. The silk is richer, the prints are bolder, and the craftsmanship is visible. Unlike many modern accessories, they don't try to shout. Instead, they whisper sophistication. Look for scarves with hand-rolled hems or unique prints. Florals, nautical patterns, or equestrian themes always feel timeless. And don't be afraid of color. A scarf is the perfect way to introduce a pop without overwhelming your look. When styled right, a vintage scarf doesn't feel old, it feels cultivated. Like you've been collecting pieces that tell your story. It's not about copying the past. It's about choosing something with meaning and wearing it like it was made for today. The timeless trench coat. Reinvented day, vintage trench coat is one of those rare wardrobe pieces that can completely transform how polished you look. Whether it's a classic Burberry with a checked lining or a cinched waist, 70s style and deep camel, this outerwear staple adds immediate elegance. Unlike modern versions that can feel too soft or lightweight, vintage trenches have structure. They hold shape, command attention, and provide just enough drama. Picture one draped over the shoulders of a sleek black turtleneck and straight-leg trousers. It's cinematic, confident, and completely wearable. The key to modernizing a vintage trench is to keep your base outfit clean and minimal. Let the coat take center stage. You can roll up the sleeves, pop the collar, or belt it asymmetrically for a fashion-forward twist. And don't underestimate color. A vintage red or olive green trench can be a statement piece on its own. These coats were built to last, and the older they get, the better they look. The fabric softens, the buttons become more interesting, and the entire piece tells a richer story. A vintage trench isn't outerwear, it's attitude, and it walks into the room before you do. Vintage bags. Personality in every stitch there. Something irresistibly personal about a vintage handbag. Unlike mass-produced modern styles, vintage bags carry soul-worn leather, intricate beading, or boxy silhouettes that instantly add sophistication to any outfit. A top-handle croc-embossed bag from the 50s or a beaded evening clutch from the 60s has a presence that no contemporary design can replicate, and these pieces don't just sit pretty, they're conversation starters. The key to styling them: keep the rest of your look simple. A classic trench, crisp jeans, and a basic blouse allow the vintage bag to be the star. Structured bags pair beautifully with tailored outfits, while softer silhouettes add texture to minimalist looks. And don't be afraid to mix a vintage bag with edgy or street-style pieces. That contrast is what keeps the vibe modern. Choose colors like oxblood, navy, or taupe for versatility, or go bold with patterns and embroidery for that standout effect. When you carry a vintage bag, it doesn't just hold your essentials, it holds history, elegance, and the subtle flex of having something no one else does. In a world of fast trends, this kind of style storytelling is a fashion power move. Classic knitwear. You'll never want to retire. Vintage knitwear has a warmth that goes beyond the fabric. It's cozy, detailed, and designed to be passed down, not tossed after a season. Think grandpa cardigans with wooden buttons, hand-knitted Fair Isle sweaters, or delicate 60s twin sets with pearl detailing. These aren't your average sweaters. They're heirlooms you get to live in. To wear them without looking dated, mix textures and proportions. A chunky knit cardigan looks chic layered over a silky slip skirt or wide-leg trousers. Tuck a vintage pullover into high-rise jeans, and add a bold belt for instant polish. And if you find a cropped knit, pair it with modern tailoring for a sweet meets sharp effect. Focus on quality materials, wool, cashmere, mohair, and inspect for moth holes or stretching. With a bit of TLC, these pieces last decades. The charm of vintage knitwear is in its imperfections. A tiny stitch, a unique color pattern, a label from a long-gone boutique. It's wearable nostalgia that doesn't rely on trends to stay relevant. When styled right, vintage knits look thoughtful, comforting, and effortlessly cool, like you just stepped out of a European art house film. Heirloom, watches, and timepieces. Wearing a vintage watch is like putting history on your wrist, and nothing says quiet luxury like an heirloom timepiece. Whether it's a gold-plated Omega, a delicate lady's Seiko, or a square-faced 70s Timex, vintage watches blend elegance with function. And unlike modern smartwatches, they don't beep or glow, they simply tell time with class. Style-wise, they're incredibly versatile. A dainty watch on a leather strap adds charm to a blouse and trouser look, while a chunkier metallic piece can toughen up a slip dress or soften a blazer. You can even layer them with minimalist bangles or a single chain bracelet for a curated, lived-in effect. The beauty is in the craftsmanship. Tiny gears, engraved backs, unique dials, all designed with care that's rare today. You don't have to spend thousands to find a great one either. Estate sales, vintage jewelers, and trusted online shops offer stunning options at accessible prices. A vintage watch says you value time, not just in function, but in style, legacy. It's a whisper of another era wrapped around your wrist, grounding your outfit with authenticity and refinement. A small detail, yes, but one that leaves a lasting impression. The power of the vintage skirt. Vintage skirts are a hidden gem in modern wardrobes, especially when you're craving something more feminine and elevated. From swishy pleated middies to structured aligns, they add movement and shape in all the right places. Look for high-waisted silhouettes from the 50s, leather pencil skirts from the 80s, or even prairie-style cotton pieces with embroidery or ruffles. The key to updating them is what you pair them with. A crisp button-down tucked into a vintage leather skirt feels powerful and current. A pleated wool midi with a cropped sweater and ankle boots, effortlessly elegant. Try wearing a more romantic skirt with a graphic tee and structured blazer for contrast. Fabrics like wool, silk, or heavy cotton ensure the skirt drapes beautifully and lasts. And remember, tailoring is your best friend. A simple hem or waist adjustment can take a vintage piece from almost. Don't be afraid to experiment with color or print. Florals, plaids, or jewel tones all feel fresh when styled with confidence. Vintage skirts aren't about playing dress-up, they're about bringing grace and polish to your everyday outfits. in a way that feels intentional, flattering, and completely timeless. Blouses with drama. Puff sleeves and Peter Pan collars. Well-chosen vintage blouse can turn your outfit into a statement. Think crisp collars, delicate embroidery, pearl buttons, or even puff sleeves that add just the right touch of volume. These pieces walk the line between soft and strong, feminine, yes, but never fragile. To style them modernly, avoid pairing them with equally retro bottoms. Instead, balance the blouse with structured, contemporary silhouettes like high-rise trousers, leather pants, or tailored shorts. A Victorian-style lace blouse under a sharp blazer can feel incredibly current. Peter Pan collars look playful when layered beneath a knit vest or under a minimal crewneck. When you wear something so detailed up top, keep your accessories minimal. Let the blouse speak. Don't shy away from vintage prints either. Polka dots, pinstripes, florals, they all add charm. Tuck them, layer them, or knot them at the waist. The magic of vintage blouses is that they carry the energy of women who wore them before you. Women who lived stylishly, fearlessly, and with flair. When you button one up today, you're not stuck in the past. You're continuing the story. And doing it in a way that feels entirely your own. Asterisk footwear with a past and purpose. Asterisk vintage shoes add unexpected sophistication to modern outfits. We're talking delicate kitten heels from the 50s, sharp-pointed Oxfords, T-strap pumps, or even 70s suede boots, all pieces that feel elegant and intentional. The charm of vintage footwear lies in its structure. These shoes were made to be seen, and when styled right, they ground your outfit with a quiet confidence. Try pairing vintage slingbacks with cropped trousers and a trench, or let a pair of two-tone brogues peek out from under a midi skirt. Suede boots from the 70s look amazing with denim and oversized knits, while leather loafers give jeans a polished twist. Make sure to inspect or refurbish your finds. A new sole or heel tip can extend their life beautifully. Modern outfits often rely on sneakers or sandals, so slipping into a vintage shoe instantly changes the posture and pace of your look. It slows things down in the best way. These shoes remind you to walk with intention, to show up a little taller, a little sharper, a little more timeless. They're not just accessories, they're anchors for the kind of woman you're becoming. Vintage belts that pull it all together. Never underestimate the power of a vintage belt. Whether it's a wide leather corset style from the 80s, a chain link belt from the disco era, or a sleek Art Deco buckle, belts do more than hold up your pants. They define your silhouette and elevate your style. Slip one over a blazer to instantly cinch the waist and add drama. Wrap it around a flowy vintage dress to bring structure and shape. Even a simple jeans and tee combo looks deliberate when topped with a standout vintage belt. Look for real leather, brass buckles, intricate stitching, the kind of details that show age in the best way. The patina on the leather, the slight tarnish on the hardware, they tell stories. And they make your outfit feel less manufactured, more curated. You can even layer belts over coats or knits to create hourglass definition in winter looks. A belt might seem like a small choice, but it's one of the most impactful, especially when it comes from a different decade, carrying its own charm. In a closet of minimal basics, a vintage belt becomes that finishing touch, the punctuation mark at the end of a perfectly composed sentence. Thrifted outerwear. Worth hunting for. Vintage outerwear is one of the best-kept secrets of an elevated wardrobe. From double-breasted pea coats to dramatic faux furs and buttery soft leather jackets. These pieces were made to be worn for decades, and they age like fine wine. Unlike many modern coats, vintage outerwear offers weight, structure, and real tailoring. A boxy 80s camel coat can be your winter signature with just a little styling. Throw it over a monochrome outfit, belt it at the waist, or pop the collar for instant impact. Faux fur collars from the 60s bring glamour to even the simplest jeans and boots. Leather bombers or shearling-lined coats add warmth and edge when paired with contemporary basics. The key is to inspect for quality, good lining, working buttons, minimal wear, and don't shy away from a little dry cleaning or tailoring. These pieces often come with beautiful linings, unique buttons, or hidden tags from long-gone brands. That's what makes them special. In a world of seasonal outerwear trends, choosing vintage gives you something more lasting. Outerwear with a past and a presence. It says you don't follow the weather forecast for style. You create your own climate. The charm of vintage lingerie as outerwear. There's an undeniable elegance in vintage lingerie, and styled correctly, it can transform from undergarment to wardrobe centerpiece. Think silk slips, lace camisoles, or satin bustiers from the 40s to the 90s. These aren't fast fashion imitations, they're detailed, luxurious, and made to flatter the body with grace. The key to modernizing lingerie pieces is contrast. Layer a lace-trimmed slip dress with an oversized blazer and ankle boots for an edgy take on evening wear. Tuck a vintage camisole into high-rise trousers and top it with a cardigan or leather jacket. The softness of the fabric against more structured or masculine pieces creates that magnetic push-pull. Color is your ally here. Black, blush, champagne, or even dusty lavender, all feel refined. Look for pieces with real silk, detailed stitching, or embroidered straps. When worn with intention, vintage lingerie isn't risk, it's powerful. It's the kind of femininity that doesn't need to be loud to be heard. Whether you're dressing up for a night out or just layering something special under your work blazer, a vintage piece adds that quiet confidence. It's elegance in its most intimate form, and now, it's yours to show off. When wearing vintage, your hair and makeup keep the look fresh and modern, not like you're stuck in a time warp. Go for a sleek bun, soft waves, or a clean center. Part 2. Balance vintage shapes. Skip overly retro styles unless you want a statement. Keep makeup simple, glowing skin, natural brows, and one bold feature, like a red lip or subtle liner. If your vintage piece is dramatic, keep your face minimal. If your outfit's simple, a strong lip or eye can add impact. Even details like gold hoops or a nude manicure help update old school pieces. This is how vintage feels current. You're not copying the past. You're curating it to fit your now. Finding quality vintage doesn't have to feel like a blind treasure hunt. Today, you can discover amazing pieces if you know where to look. Trusted online shops like Etsy, eBay, Real, Vestiaire Collective, or Depop make it easy. Many sellers specialize by era or brand. Always check measurements, photos, and fabric details. Don't skip local thrift stores, flea markets, or estate sales. Hidden gems are often close to home. Consignment boutiques are also great for authenticated designer finds. For newer vintage 90s or early 2000s, try pop or vintage. Look beyond big labels. Sometimes the charm is in the unknown. If a piece fits well and sparks joy, it doesn't need to be famous to be fabulous. Shopping vintage is about building a wardrobe of stories, not trends. Each find adds memory, meaning, and a touch of magic to your style. Caring for your vintage wardrobe is how you honor its longevity and charm. These pieces were built to last, but they need thoughtful upkeep. Learn your fabrics, hand-wash delicate silks, dry clean, fragile knits, store wool with cedar to keep moths away. Use padded hangers to protect shapes, especially for coats and blazers. A bit of tailoring, a hem, a tweak at the waist can make a piece feel custom. Condition leather bags and shoes to keep them supple, and polish jewelry gently to prevent tarnish. Don't worry about small flaws, a good tailor or cobbler can work wonders. The beauty of vintage is its character, not perfection. Caring for it isn't a chore, it's a ritual that keeps your collection alive. Ready to inspire you for years to come. Creating your signature look with vintage. Accents isn't about copying a decade, it's about discovering who you are through pieces with history. The magic happens when vintage stops being a trend and starts feeling like part of you. Maybe it's a belt you reach for daily, a scarf you knot in your hair, or a 70s blazer that lifts your confidence every time. These pieces don't just blend in, they become your style. Vintage doesn't shout. It highlights your individuality and your eye for detail. Building a wardrobe this way is deeply personal. You're curating character, not just clothes. In a world fixated on what's next, vintage quietly says, I know who I am. Keep collecting. Keep mixing. Let vintage add depth and soul to your look and turn your style into something truly unforgettable.